Please, all of you look at the screen. The 1 mark first questions. Please observe the 1 mark questions, children. Name the acid that is released in stomach. HCl, hydrochloric acid. So yesterday, when I'm showing the diagrams, we discussed about the function of HCl also, isn't it, children? So HCl, it is helpful for the removing of bacteria. It kills the bacteria when it is present in food, and also it is helpful for the protein digestion process. Okay, and the second question is, what is the basic filtration unit in kidney? That is nephron. Okay, so what is the function of nephron, children? The nephron, which is useful for to remove toxic substances from the body. And the third important question, name the raw materials necessary for photosynthesis, which is the repeated question, most important and repeated question, children. So what are the necessary materials for photosynthesis? Carbon dioxide, water, and sunlight. And fourth important question is DNA, the full form of DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. When you are writing abbreviations, don't write spelling mistakes, children. Okay, try to write correct spellings. Okay, and fifth question is, write a slogan on environmental protection. So if it is a 1 mark, you should write at least 2 slogans. If it is a 2 mark question, please write at least 4 slogans, children. 4 slogans you have to write. Okay. So what are the slogans of environmental protection? So here 3 slogans which I gave. Less pollution is the best solution. Think green, be green, and stop polluting. Save earth, save future. Okay, children. Okay, next, sixth one is suggest a method to minimize non-biodegradable waste. So alternative solution is reduce, recycle, reuse. Okay, these are the 3 important R's, 3R principle. And seventh question is write a slogan on waste management. So here are the 2 slogans for 1 mark: waste less, live more; manage waste, manage life. You can use these type of slogans. Okay, you can write your own way, which should be relevant. Okay, next, 8th question, write a slogan to display on environmental day. Here also 2 slogans: go green, breathe clean; better environment and better tomorrow. Okay, children. And here our environmental lesson, these 2 important abbreviations, CFC and UNEPs. 9th question, expand CFC. CFC stands for chlorofluorocarbon. And next one, expand UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. Okay. 11th question, what happens if the sperm cell with X chromosome fertilize with an ovum? Okay, the sperm cell with X chromosome. See, children, this is related to sex determination question. So if the sperm which is having X chromosome in males, male chromosomes XY condition, no? The gamete which consisting of X and Y condition, the ova XX condition. Here the question is, what happens if the sperm cell with X chromosome, the X chromosome, fertilizes with ova X chromosome? What is the resultant condition? What is the resultant baby will be? That is XX condition, so that the baby will be a girl. The same question, but here, what will happen if the sperm cell with Y chromosome fertilizes with the ovum? If it is a Y chromosome fertilizes with the X chromosome, it should be the condition XY condition. So the resultant baby will be a male. Okay, children, baby boy. Okay, next, 13th question. 13th question. This is also very, very important question, children. For 2 marks also it is important. Okay. For 2 marks also it is very, very important question. 13th question. Please all of you look at 13th question. What will happen if there are no variations in the organisms? What is meant by variation, children? The differences between the same related species, isn't it, children? So if there is no variations in the organisms, what will happen? That means there is no species will form, population will not survive, species won't adapt the environment, and the species will die. Okay. So basing on that, you can add on 2 or 3 points also for 2 mark questions. Okay. Next, 14th question. Here is the paragraph. It is also one of the repeated question. It is about ATP, assimilatory power, one of the assimilated power, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. So ATP is the energy currency for most cellular processes. The energy released during the process of respiration is used to make an ATP molecule form ADP and inorganic phosphate. See here, this is the equation. ADP, phosphate, one of the phosphate, it turns into ADP. Okay, children? So during respiration process, we will observe this reaction. So what is the question here? In which life process ADP converts into ATP? In which life process, children? This is cell level respiration process. Okay. So cell level respiration process is also called cellular respiration. Answer, cellular respiration. In cellular respiration, ADP converts into ATP. Next, 15th one. How do cartilage rings surrounding the trachea help in respiration? So, cartilaginous rings. The cartilaginous rings surrounds the trachea. Okay, trachea portion. These trachea with the cartilaginous rings help in respiration by keeping the trachea open and prevents its collapse. Okay, children, that is the most important uses of cartilaginous rings. Okay, next. Repeated question, one of the repeated question in heredity lesson, that is, what is meant by heredity? What is meant by heredity? Heredity is the transfer of characters from parent to offspring through reproduction. Isn't it, children? So passing of characters from the parents to offsprings. So who is the father of genetics, children? Gregor John Mendel. Gregor John Mendel. So Gregor John Mendel experimenting on pea plants. In his experiments, he experiment on pea plants. What is the scientific name of pea plant is also very, very important. Pisum sativum. Pisum sativum. Okay. Now 17th question. Please observe the 17th question, children. What will happen if pancreas do not secrete insulin? What is the function of insulin, children? Which gland releases insulin, children? Insulin, which is secreted by pancreas. Okay. The main function of insulin is the blood sugar level is balanced by the secretion of insulin, isn't it? So if there is no insulin, if pancreas is not secreting insulin, what will happen? The blood sugar level increases, diabetes. Okay, diabetes is one of the diseases, diabetes occurs. Okay, children. Now, 18th question. Please observe carefully. A man with the blood group A marries a woman with a blood group O, and their daughter has blood group O. Is there any information enough to tell which trait is dominant? No, here there is no information of extended information. There is no extended information about the generations, no? Isn't it? So that it is not sufficient. So that No, the information is not enough to say A or O is dominant basing on the statement. Basing on the statement. Please, all of you, look at the 19th question. Observe the 19th question diagram, children. Here, to observe the given picture and identify the phenotypic ratio of F2 generation. What is meant by phenotypic generation, children? There is a two type of pheno ratios in F1, F2 generations. Generally, we mentioned phenotypic and genotypic ratios, isn't it? Phenotypic means visible characters. Whatever the characters which are visible in the plants, those characters we examined. After that, we can calculate the ratios. After that, genotypic ratios. Genotypic ratios which are not visible basing on the Punnett square, we use it to say genotypic ratios mostly. Okay, children. So here, basing on this picture, please look at the picture. Parents after cross-pollination in F1 generation, then it is self-pollination. Basing on this color variant, it is a monohybrid cross. Okay, so in this, they are asking about F2 generation phenotypic ratio. So 3 are one color and 1 is another color, that is green in color. So the visible ratio is 3:1. That is a phenotypic ratio. Next, yesterday, same question. We observed the same question. But here the function is different. Function is different. What is the function of structure given in the picture? Yesterday's diagram, in that question, they asked about part, stomata. But in this question, what is the function of the structure given in the picture? They asked. What is the main function of stomata, children? The main function of stomata is exchange of gases. Exchange of gases. Okay, children. That is a main function of stomata. Now, let us see one Punnett square. Look at here, Punnett square, 21st question, Punnett square. Here is a Punnett square. See, look at this Punnett square. What is the genotypic ratio in the given table? What is the genotypic ratio in the given table? So here, capital T and small t, basing on the alleles and traits. See, visible ratio is different, genetical ratio is different. Okay, so the genetical ratio, say children, after pollination, after fertilization, see children, the resultant alleles and traits, look at here. So capital T, capital T, capital T, small t, capital T, small t, and small t, small t. The capital T is representing as a homozygous allele. These are homozygous alleles. So two alleles we use it to say a trait. This is a homozygous trait. In this homozygous trait is pure trait. This is one genetically, and these two. Please observe these two traits, children. Capital T and small t. These are impure traits. These two traits are impure. Then last one is small t, small t. This is also one of the homozygous alleles, homozygous trait, this one. So, but it is dwarf, and capital T homozygous trait. This is homozygous tall. Okay, children. So, basing on that, homozygous tall 1, heterozygous tall 2, homozygous dwarf 1. So, the genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. 1:2:1. That is a genotypic ratio. Now, let us see this instrument. This is the last year 1 mark question, children. Last year public exam. This is the 1 mark question. What is the use of the instrument issue in the picture? See, this is the instrument which is used to measure blood pressure. What is the name of this instrument, children? What is the name? Sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer. Okay, sphygmomanometer is used to measure blood pressure. And another Punnett square here. Please look at the Punnett square. Observe the information given in the table and find out genetical ratio of the offsprings. Genetical ratio of the offsprings. Here, in this Punnett square, the parents, see children, homozygous one pair and heterozygous one pair, two different parents are there, parent traits are there. Basing on that, see, homozygous and heterozygous tall plants are appeared here. So the genotypic ratio is 1:1 or 2:2. Basing on the homozygous and heterozygous, 2:2, or half of the traits are tall, pure tall, and half of the portion is pure, heterozygous tall. So that this is 1:1 or 2:2. Next, and dihybrid cross picture is given here. Observe the picture. Observe the picture. This is dihybrid ratio. Dihybrid cross picture, children. Dihybrid cross picture. And observe the given picture and write the dominant trait in the F1 generation. See, children, what is the dominant trait? Parents round and green, wrinkled and yellow. If you can, if you fuse these two, in F1 generation, most of the seeds will appear as round and yellow, as we know that round and yellow. So that which one is a dominant? Basing on the F1 generation, we can conclude that round and yellow seeds are dominant. Okay, children. I hope you practiced F1, monohybrid and dihybrid cross. Okay. Next one. Next question. Look at this question. Observe the given picture and identify the dominant trait in these plants. Again, dominant. In F1, in monohybrid cross example, this is monohybrid cross. In monohybrid cross, tall plant is fertilized with a short dwarf plant or dwarf plant. So basing on that, the resultant condition in F1 generation, all plants are tall. Okay, children. So basing on the given picture in F1 generation, all plants are tall. So basing on the question, identify the dominant trait in this plant, children. Tallness is a dominant trait. That means capital T or capital T, small t. Okay, that is a dominant trait. Dominant traits means which allele is dominant. So that the answer capital T. Tallness is the dominant one. Children, one more important question. Read the flow chart and where does aerobic respiration takes place? 25th question, children. See, please practice this flow chart, children. Please practice this flow chart. This is also very, very important flow chart. Okay, so how the glucose, 6 molecule glucose, it converts into pyruvate. After that, in the presence of oxygen, in yeast, in the presence of yeast, in muscle cells, in mitochondria, how it is changes into other product. Okay, this is very, very important flow chart. So here the question is, where does aerobic respiration takes place in this cell? Okay, it is a cell level respiration process. No, this flow chart indicates cell level respiration. Okay, please observe this flowchart, children. This is very, very important flowchart. Try to practice this flowchart today. See, in examination point of view, this is very, very important flowchart. So in cell level respiration, see, this first step takes place in cytoplasm, and the remaining steps takes place in mitochondria. Okay, in cell level. See, the question is, where does aerobic respiration takes place in this cell? That is the question. Aerobic respiration means in the presence of oxygen. In the presence of oxygen, the respiration process takes place. That means it is a aerobic respiration. If it is not in the presence of oxygen, that means a lack of oxygen, that is anaerobic respiration, isn't it? So, where does the cellular respiration takes place? In the presence of oxygen, that means aerobic respiration in mitochondria. Look at here, children. Mitochondria. Answer is mitochondria. Okay. Now, 26th question. 26th question. If a trait exists in 10% of population, of an asexual reproduction species, and trait B exists 60% of the same population, guess the trait that have arisen earlier. This is also one of the repeated question. You know this answer. That is trait B arisen earlier because it exists in larger portion. Okay, that means 60%. So basing on the genetical information and heredity, basing on that, we can conclude that trait B. Now, let us see important 2-mark questions. Important and repeated 2-mark questions I am going to represent here. See, children, important 2-mark questions. These questions are very, very important. Okay. See, let us see 2-mark questions one by one. Describe the environmentally friendly practices to reduce waste in your locality. See, as we know, 3R principle: reduce, reuse, recycle. So, reduce, that means minimize the single use plastic to reduce waste. And reuse, what you have to reuse? Reuse old things like paper, plastic, and glass. And compost is environmentally friendly. That means composting is very, very important point here. So turn the food waste into fertilizer for plants. Okay. So these 3 points are very, very important for this question, children. Next one is, what would happen if salivary glands stop secreting saliva? See, children, if saliva is not secreted by the salivary glands, yesterday we discussed about the chemical changes of saliva, how saliva converts complex sugars into simple sugars. In saliva experiment also we discussed that. That saliva is not secreted, what will happen? It is difficult to swallowing the food. After mastication process, the swallowing process is difficult. Okay. And the digestion problems, it will, if there is no saliva in the food, the digestion will not take place. First thing, the chemical digestion and mechanical digestion also difficult. And third important point is, mouth becomes dry and painful when you are masticate, and the tooth decay will occur. Tooth decay will occur. Okay, children. This is also one of the important question. After importance of HCl, this is also one of the important questions, children. So then, next question is about one of the paragraph, important paragraph here. See, read the given paragraph and answer the following questions. It is about a brain. Hypothalamus plays an important role in release of many hormones. For example, When the level of growth hormone is low, hypothalamus releases growth hormone, releasing factor which stimulates a pituitary gland to release growth hormone. Okay, so here are some questions based on the paragraph, children. See, what controls the activity of pituitary gland? Pituitary gland, which is connected with hypothalamus area, so that the answer is hypothalamus. So hypothalamus controls the activity of pituitary gland and the secretions of pituitary gland. And next question is deficiency of which hormone caused by the dwarfism? Okay, so dwarfism, the shortness, which is related to GH. That means growth hormone, which is secreted by pituitary gland. Okay, children. Next, fourth question. What would happen if all the predators were removed for an ecosystem? What would happen if all the predators were removed for an ecosystem? Okay, children. Predator and prey relationship, we know. So if there is no predator, what will happen, children? Prey population will increases. So if there is no predator, the prey population gradually increases. That means ecosystem will becomes imbalanced, isn't it? So overgrazing occurs, entire biodiversity faces different types of problems. So the biodiversity will decreases. There is no biodiversity in that particular area. Okay, next. Most important question in 2 marks is what measures do you suggest to avoid goiter? Goiter problem related to thyroid gland. Isn't it? This is also one of the repeated questions, children. So, what measures do you follow or do you suggest to avoid goiter, children? The first thing is eat iodized salt, consume iodine-rich foods, drink clean water, and maintain a balanced diet. Okay, children? These are very, very important suggestions to avoid goiter. And sixth important question, to prepare a questionnaire. This is also very, very important. Please ask or please write relevant questions, children. Don't ask irrelevant questions. Okay? When you are preparing a question, please write relevant questions only. Look at the question. What questions will you ask your teacher to know more about ecosystem? Ecosystem. Say, what is an ecosystem? What are the different types of ecosystems? How do organisms interact with an ecosystem? What is ecosystem balance? Okay, like that you can frame some relevant questions, children. You should frame relevant questions. Okay, next, one of the important para from the our environment lesson, children. Important para. This is also important paragraph in textbook. So we know that food we eat act as a fuel to provide us energy to do work, isn't it? So the interaction among the various components of the environment involve flow of energy from one component of the system to another, as we know. So as we have studied, the autotrophs capture the food present in the sunlight and convert into chemical energy. This energy supports all activities in the living world from autotrophs. The energy goes to the heterotrophs and decomposers. This is the paragraph. Now let us see the questions. What are the questions? Are there based on the information? See, what is the energy source in ecosystem? In ecosystem, what is the ultimate energy source, children? That is sunlight. So, second question, write the flow of energy in an ecosystem in the form of flowchart. In the form of flowchart. How energy is transferred, children? The transfer of energy always unidirectional. We know always it is straight line. So that the energy transferred from the sunlight to first autotrophs, then heterotrophs, then decomposers. That is the way the energy is transferred from one organism to another organism from the source, that is sunlight. Okay, children, this is very, very important flowchart, children. Next, eighth question. Important 8 mark, I mean 2 mark question. What will happen if decomposers are absent in ecosystem? Decomposers. What is the function of decomposer, children? What is the main function of decomposer? It decomposes the environmental waste, a biological waste, isn't it? If there is no decomposers, decomposers are absent in ecosystem, what will happen, children? The dead plants and animals won't decay, and the nutrients won't be released, and the new plant can't grow, and ecosystem becomes unhealthy, waste build up, and ecosystem balance is disturbed. Okay, children. So these are the 6 important points. Please read these 6 points, children. Try to write or try to add 2 more points here. Okay. Next. Write any 2 ways in which non-biodegradable substances would affect the environment. So, non-biodegradable substances would affect the environment. Okay, so what is your answer? Let us see here. It causes air, water, and soil pollution. Non-biodegradable, which is not degradable biologically. So what will happen? It will cause pollution, first thing. And also, it fills up landfills and oceans. That is very, very one of the harmful situation for aquatic organisms also. And third important point is it harms the animals and plants children most and spoil natural beauty, and the beauty of nature will spoils because of non-biodegradable substances. And next important question, this is very, very important and repeated questions in old papers also. That is, what will be the consequences if iodine is deficient in our daily food for a long time? Okay, if iodine deficiency in our daily food for a long time, what will happen, children? The main consequences, the lack of iodine will get goiter, slow growth, low IQ levels, poor health. I mean, if iodine, lack of iodine in child, the birth defects will come, and also brain damage will occur. Okay, these are the 6 deficiency diseases. Okay, next. If a chance to meet nephrologist, what questions will you ask about the healthy maintenance of kidney? Nephrologist, the doctor who deals kidney and nephron related problems. Nephron is a filtrating unit present in kidney, no? So, basing on the doctor, whatever the doctor which is present in that question, basing on the doctor, you can ask the question, children. Okay, so here nephrologist. Nephrologist means who deals the problems of kidney related problems, isn't it? So that basing on that, here are the some questions. So first question, how to keep kidney healthy? What to eat for healthy kidneys? What to not eat for healthy kidneys? So this is about a nutrition. If the kidney patients, how the person will take the nutrition. That is a main important point. I should ask about a medication. If the person is suffering with this particular kidney problems, try to ask the symptoms, how the symptoms will be. Like that, you can frame some of the questions also. Okay. So what are the kidney diseases symptoms? Is exercise good for kidneys? Like that, you can ask some important and relevant questions for this question. Okay, children. Next question. This is about cardiologist. The cardiologist who treat the problems of heart related problems. So Here, what questions will you ask about cardiovascular diseases? Heart-related diseases. Here, I'm giving 6 questions. How to keep heart healthy? What to eat for healthy heart? What not to eat for healthy heart? How much water to drink? What are the heart diseases symptoms? And is exercise good for health? Okay, or heart health? Like that, you can ask the questions. Here, I'm going to represent one important paragraph. This is also one of the important repeated paragraph, children. Repeated. So look at this paragraph, children. The length and complexity of food chain vary greatly. Each organism is generally eaten by 2 or more other kinds of organisms, which in turns eaten by several other organisms. So instead of straight line food chain, the relationship can be shown as a series of branching lines called food web. So this is about food web related paragraph. Now, what is the question? What is a food web? A simple question. What is a food web, children? The food relationship of an organism shown as series of branching lines instead of a straight line is called food web. Basing on the paragraph, this is the answer for that question. Why is the use of iodized salt is advisable? Previous question, if lack of iodine, what are the diseases which are present in the goiter patients? Okay, if lack of iodine, what diseases will occur? In previous question. Now this question is related to why the use of iodized salt is advisable. So why the iodized salt is advisable? Same. This is advisable for goiter, to prevent goiter, to prevent slow growth, and low IQ persons must take iodine. It prevents poor health, birth defects, brain damage. So that iodized salt is advisable for brain function and thyroid function. Okay, children? So this is also one of the important question. And next important question is about if you meet a gastroenterologist, what questions will you ask? If you have a chance to meet a gastroenterologist who deals the problems related to digestion, indigestion problem, and liver and pancreas problems. Okay, so basing on that, what questions will you frame, children? Please look at here. What to eat for good digestion? What not to eat for good digestion? What are the indigestion symptoms? What foods are easy to digest? And how to stop acidity? And how to prevent digestion problems. So that basing on the related questions, basing on the digestion related problems, you can frame the related questions. Next one. Next question is related to our environment. What will happen if we kill all organisms in one tropic level? All organisms in one tropic level. See, children, if we kill all organisms in one tropic level, what will happen? The food chains or related food chains will break. So if the food chains breaks, it will affect the population of the other levels. So if the food chain and other levels of population will disturb, so some imbalances are occur in ecosystem. So if the imbalance in ecosystem, it disturbs the entire nature, so that the ecosystem may be collapsed, the population decreases. See, these are the relevant answers. Children, when you are writing any biological answer, try to write the relevant terminology. Terminology is very, very important, children. So terminology, biological terminology words, very, very important when you are writing. Okay. So one more important paragraph I'm going to representing here. That is a paragraph related to our environmental lesson. The ozone is about ozone. Ozone is a molecule formed by three atoms of oxygen, while O2, which have normally refers to two as O2, I mean oxygen, is essential for all aerobic forms of life, isn't it? Ozone is a deadly poisonous. However, at the higher levels of atmosphere, ozone perform an essential function. It is a shield to surface of the earth of ultraviolet radiation from the sun. This radiation is highly damaging to organisms. For example, it is known to cause skin cancers in human beings. So let us see some questions related to this paragraph. How do ozone layer protect us? How ozone is protect us, children? Ozone layer protect us from UV rays by shielding the surface of the earth. And second question, what is the effect of ultraviolet rays on human health? UV rays causing skin cancers. Okay, children. So this is about important 1 mark and 2 mark questions in this PDF. Now, I'm going to show you some important SCRT asking questions and making hypothesis questions. These are also important 2 mark questions, which is given by the SCRT book. So in life process lesson, these are the important 2 mark questions. Some more important questions. If you meet a gastroenterologist, what questions will you frame about indigestion? See this question, children. See this question. What questions will you ask about indigestion, good food habits, and malnutritional diseases? See, in this question, here they mentioned that indigestion, good food habits, malnutrition. So, basing on that, you can ask the questions. Okay, see the questions, children. These 4 questions related to gastroenterologist. See which acid present in the stomach. What is the reason for malnutrition? What are the different types of malnutritional diseases? What are the symptoms of indigestion? So question must be relevant. Basing on the question only you can prepare, children. Okay, next one. This is about a pulmonologist. The pulmonologist who deals the problems of respiratory diseases, isn't it? So what questions will you ask about respiratory diseases if you have chance to meet a pulmonologist? What is a pulmonary respiration? What are the structural and functional units of lungs? How can we increase the lung capacity? And what is the precautions to be taken to prevent pulmonary diseases? Okay, you can add on some more important points. Okay, breathing exercises related to breathing exercises and related to food habit also you can ask. Okay, add on. You can ask 2 or more questions like that. Okay, next one. Third important question is what questions will you ask about your teacher? The evil effects of tobacco consumption. Tobacco consumption. So the tobacco, which is an alkaloid. So if you take alkaloid, what will happen? So it disturbs the function of lungs, isn't it? It will create the lung cancer. So basing on that, you can ask the questions. So what are the questions? Please look at here. Which alkaloid is present in the tobacco? Why smoking is injurious to health? And what are the problems caused by the tobacco products? And what are the reasons for lung cancer? Like that, you can ask about respiratory problems related to tobacco consumption. And fourth question, what questions will you ask about kidney diseases? Maintains a kidney healthy kidney if you chance to meet nephrologist? We already discussed about this question. See the different questions here, like what are the common kidney diseases and what type of food we should take avoid a kidney disease, and how many liters of water we should drink for the proper functioning of kidney, and what are the symptoms of uremia. Uremia. This is the additional question. Uremia condition. And next one is, if you chance to meet a nephrologist, what questions will you ask about kidney? What are the structural and functionalities of kidney, and what is a dialysis? What are the two main parts of present in the nephron, and how many liters of water should we drink a day? And next question about cardiologist. If you meet a cardiologist, what questions will you ask about heart health? And next question is, what questions do you ask your teacher to more about BP, blood pressure? Blood pressure. So, if you are asking a teacher, what questions will you frame, children? What is a cardiac cycle? What is systolic pressure? What is diastolic pressure? What are the reason for BP? Like that, you can ask a relevant questions. Next, what questions do you ask endocrinologist about pituitary gland? About pituitary gland. So, where is the pituitary gland is located? Which gland is called master gland? What are the hormones released by the pituitary gland? Why pituitary gland is called master gland? Like that, you can ask. Okay. This is also endocrinologist about pancreas. First question about pituitary, and second question, ninth question about pancreas. Okay. Basing on the pancreas, why it is called islets of Langerhans, why the pancreas is called mixed gland, and what are the two types of hormone released by the pancreas, and what are the enzymes present in the pancreatic juice, like that you can ask. So all these are the asking questions and making hypothesis questions. So making hypothesis questions very important. Reason type questions. What happens if the acid is not secreted in stomach? Acid, HCl. If HCl is not secreted in the stomach, it can lead to difficulty in digestion, intestinal infections, hence, protein digestion. That means pepsin also would not be activated if there is no acid. The pepsin will not be activated for the digestion of the protein. Next important question, what will happen if the gastric glands do not secrete mucus? Mucus, which is very helpful component. Once look at the answer, children. See, what will happen if the gastric glands do not secrete mucus? Mucus help to protect walls of stomach and acid produced for digestion. If mucus is not secreted, the walls of the stomach, it may be damaged due to the acid. Next one, platelets. What will happen if the platelets are absent in our body? What is the main function of platelets, children? Blood clotting, which can initiate the blood clotting process. If blood platelets are absent in our body, the blood clotting cannot be takes place. As a result, bleeding from the injuries occurs continuously, that leads to death of a person. Okay, next, 16th question. Please look at the 16th, important 16th question. What would be the consequences of deficiency of hemoglobin in our body? If a hemoglobin is present in RBC, which carry oxygen to the cells of the body. If there is no hemoglobin, what will happen? The deficiency of hemoglobin in our body will result in the decrease in the oxygen carrying capacity of blood, so that the deficiency of the hemoglobin in the body will result in anemia condition. Okay, the deficiency of hemoglobin causes anemia condition. Okay, now 17th question. What will happen if the small intestine is shorter like a foot pipe? What will happen, children? The small intestine is nearly, it is a 7-meter coiled pipe. 7 meters coiled pipe. Okay, if there is no, the length is very shortened, what will happen? If the small intestine is shorter, it cannot perform the function such as absorption, so that it leads to several intestinal problems. If the intestine is smaller, it cannot absorb the digested food materials. Okay, so it leads to intestinal problems. And 18th question, very, very important question, children. What will happen if our respiratory tract is not moist? If the respiratory tract is not moist, the dust particles may enter into the lungs, and these dust particle causes lung issues and lung problems. Okay. Next. Nineteenth question. If a person kidney are not functioning properly, what might happen to their body? The kidneys are not functioning. So what will happen, children? If a person kidneys are not functioning properly, if the body fills with extra water or waste products, if the waste products are accumulated, that condition we can call it as uremia. This is also important 1 mark, children. So the accumulation of waste product or extra water in kidneys, it leads to uremia condition. So if the condition happens continuously, this lead to the death of a person. Okay, one of the harmful situation. Next one, 20th question. What will happen if the system of blood vessels develop a leak? If the blood vessels develops a leak, the blood may bleed out of our body, and it is also leads to death. Next one. What would happen if the heart walls were damaged? What is the function of the wall, children? In hearts, the walls are important to prevent backflow of the blood, isn't it? If the walls are damaged, the walls are not functioning properly, our walls are damaged, it doesn't open and close and allow the blood, and the flow of blood through the heart in the right direction, it will not flow in right direction. Hence, it does not prevent blood flow backward direction. I mean, so it cannot prevent the backflow. Okay, children? So, if the walls are very, very important for the removing the backflow of the blood. Next one is, next 22nd question in life process. This is the last question for life process. And what would happen if the plant, if its stomata was permanently closed? What is the main function of stomata, children? Exchange of gases, and it is also perform transpiration process. Isn't it? Transpiration process. If the stomata is closed permanently, what will happen? The stomata are closed in plants, the plant will not able to exchange the gases like carbon dioxide and water. And then due to this, they will be not able to perform photosynthesis, and then will naturally die. Okay, the plant will die. If there is no exchange of gases, there is no production of food and nutrients. Okay, this is about life process 2 mark questions. Now, control and coordination, important 2 mark questions. Control and coordination, important 2 mark questions. What will be the consequences of the damage of cerebrum? Which important action will be taken? See, cerebrum is the most important part of the brain, as we know. So if it is damaged, one cannot think properly, may lose memory and intelligence. It will be very difficult to live normally. Okay. And what will happen if the reflex actions in the human do not occur? If the reflex actions do not occur, the body may be unable to respond quickly in harmful situation, which can lead to injuries to the other issues. Okay. This is about the questions in related to control and coordination. And next is important questions in heredity lesson, along with 1 mark and 2 mark questions. See, what happens if the ovum fertilizes with Y chromosomes of the male gamete? This is already discussed. So the resultant baby will be boy, as we know. Next, 26th. What will happen if there is no organisms? No variations in the organisms. What will happen, children? So if there is no variations, there is no adaptation, isn't it? So if the variations are not done, then it will be difficult to identify organisms, and also the survival of the organism will not be possible. And next, what way the sex of a child sperm cell X chromosome fertilizes with ovum? What is the resultant baby? This is also discussed. So the resultant baby will be boy. And 28th question, what will happen if there are no dominant traits in the organism? There is no dominant, what will happen, children? The traits are not dominant are called recessive. So if an organism inherits at least one dominant variant, then it will be display the effect. This could be phenotypic of the dominant allele. As we know this answers. Okay, next. Next, basing on the weightage, A6 academic standard 6 question, application to daily life concern to biodiversity in life process lesson. See, children, these are the important questions. What ways can you suggest to promote awareness of kidney failure? What questions and what ways can you suggest to promote awareness about kidney failure? Try to write, this is also one of the 2 mark question now, try to write 4 points at least. So what you have to write, I will follow the some of the following ways to create awareness among the people about kidney problems. So what you have to give suggestions? I will make the chart, poster, pamphlets about kidney health and circulate the social media accounts. See, so some common suggestions you have to write. And the next important question, write a slogan to aware people about organ donation. Children, this is a repeated question. Expected question also about organ donation. See, write a slogan to aware people about organ donation. Have a heart, save a life. At the end of the life river, donate your liver. Donate eyes, live twice. Don't be self-owner, be a good organ donor. Organ donation is a gift for life. Like that, you can add on some more. Okay. Next, in control and coordination, diabetes is a chronic disease. What measure do you suggest to control blood sugar level? So, common suggestions: exercise regularly, eat at regular times, eat a healthy diet with low calories, isn't it? And monitoring healthy weight, get enough sleep, monitoring your carbohydrate intake. Like that you can ask. Next, third important question. What precautions do you suggest to take a steps in order to avoid goiter disease? Repeated question, children. I will suggest the following ways to avoid goiter. See, use of iodized salt instead of regular salt. Eat seafood regularly. Exercise regular to maintain healthy thyroid gland, and avoid smoking and drinking alcohol. Drink plenty of water and reduce stress and strain. Now let us see some important 2 mark questions in how do organism reproduce. Okay, no daughter, no mother, save a girl child, ensure the future. Don't kill bird, save the girl childhood, save the girl child, and save the society. And another important 2 marks in how to organism reproduction. What precautions will you take to keep away from STD? Children, this is also one of the important question. See, give a knowledge about a reproductive organ. Okay, educate and motivate of STD problems. Like that, you can write the answer. Next, sixth question. Give some suggestions to your friend to avoid reproductive health. So, contraceptive devices, how to maintain healthy life, maintaining personal hygiene. Like that, you can add on some more important points for this type of questions. Now, last lesson, 2 mark questions, children. Last lesson, 2 mark questions. See, children, what precautions do you take to reduce ozone depletion? Ozone depletion. Children, related to ozone layer, the most important questions are there in last lesson. Try to read those questions also. Okay, children, here is the question about what precautions do you take to reduce ozone depletion? See, children, reduce CFC usage. CFC means chlorofluorocarbon. So this is the primary factor causing ozone depletion. So avoid products containing CFC like old refrigerators, air conditioners, and aerosol sprays. And second one is support renewable energy. What is renewable energy, children? Like solar energy and wind energies. Those are natural energy resource now. So next one, eco-friendly alternatives. Eco-friendly alternatives you have to write. Next, fourth one is minimizing the uses of vehicles. Okay, so the depletion of the ozone layer could have major consequences for health, human health, and environment. Hence, we must follow the above precautions to reduce the ozone depletion. Like that, you have to write this type of questions. Next, suggest some methods to reduce chemical pesticides in agriculture. This is also one of the important questions, children. So here, rotation of crops, studying life histories of pest, biological control, and sterility. These four, along with side headings, you have to write this type of question. Next, slogans about ozone layer depletion. Ozone layer depletion slogans these are. Okay, try to write at least 4 slogans for 2 marks. Next, write some slogans to people about reduction of chemical pesticides. Protect planet, choose pesticides free, no healthy soil, no healthy crop. Like that, you can add on some of the slogans. See, children, write a slogan of environmental protection. Same slogans you can take from the previous question. Same slogan, save the environment, save the life. Okay, next, last one is about what measures do you suggest to reduce the effect of non-biodegradable waste? This is the repeated question in UTM papers also, children. This is also one of the repeated questions. What measures do you suggest to reduce the effect of non-biodegradable waste, children? I think this is the 4-mark question also. Okay, see the 4 side headings which I given here. Avoid single-use plastic item. Reduce chemically based products. Proper disposal. And alternate is reduce, reuse, recycle. That is the 3R principle. Okay, these four side headings are very, very important. Okay, so what you have to avoid here, single use of plastic items. So the usage, bags, bottles, straws, whatever the utensils are used in plastic, so you have to avoid. Then reduce the chemical based products. That means biodegradable households, cleaners, and personal care to minimize this plastic and chemical waste. And third important one is proper disposal. Disposal of non-biodegradable waste in dustbins, I mean designed bins to prevent environmental pollution. And one of the important ultimate alternate is reduce, reuse, recycle. This is the eco-friendly practice, children. So that reuse the eco-friendly product and reduce the polythene and plastic items to encourage the recycling method. Now, the last question is about write a slogan to display Environmental Day. Okay, protect our planet, save the environment. So these are the important 1 mark and 2 marks chapter wise which I given in this PDF, children. So I hope you understood these questions. So when you are writing 1 mark and 2 mark questions, try to read the question twice or thrice. Then you should write the answer, children. Okay. So without reading the question paper, okay, without proper reading, don't write the answers. Don't write the answers, children. Okay. So try to read the question first. Okay. So previously I gave some ideas how to present the paper, how to write the paper. Okay, children. So in some of the UTF papers, especially 1 mark questions, some application questions are there. So in our groups, UTF papers also shared, children. So try to revise those 4 papers also, UTF papers. Okay. So I'm sharing those papers also. If possible, please go through these UTF papers also, children. So UTF given 4 important papers. Please go through these papers, 1 mark, 2 marks, and 4 marks and 8 mark questions. So these are also helpful for your exam, especially 1 mark and 2 marks, children. 1 mark and 2 mark questions. See, these are the questions. One mark and 2 mark, 4 marks, and 8 mark questions, along with the answers are there in this papers. So that please revise these papers. This is the second model paper. These are the 1 mark and 2 marks, 4 marks, 8 mark questions. Okay. Please read these questions also, same repeated questions, but how the questions are asked in these papers. Just understand the question. And this is the last paper which I'm representing here. Last paper. Okay, total 4 papers. So try to read these 4 papers also. Okay. So the last paper, see 1 mark questions, how the 1 mark questions are framed in this paper, children. Look at here, 1 mark questions. These are the 1 mark questions. See. Write a slogan on waste management and expand UNEP and a flowchart related to cellular respiration. The diagram this is the diagram about dialysis. And 5th question, it is about monohybrid cross. And 6th question, what is meant by a term allele? So see this, children, question pattern. Try to understand the question, then write your answer. So please go through these 4 model papers also, if time is sufficient. So this is about today's biology class, children. So I hope you already practiced the important diagrams and you read 8 marks and 4 mark questions, and try to read all 1 mark and 2 mark questions also today in today's session. So we discussed 1 mark and 2 mark questions also here. Children, all the best for your biology exam. So try to write neatly, legibly. Okay. So don't write overwritings. Be confident. All the best for your biology exam. So try to get 50 out of 50 marks. Okay, children. So that's all for today's class. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Please leave the class, children. Thank you.